If you haven't heard about NotebookLM and the power tool that it is, and about taking complicated things and making it actual very, very simple to understand, this is what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about NotebookLM, okay? But I think NotebookLM is being used completely wrong. Now, it is a powerful tool. I think it's one of the best tools out there on the market, and it's absolutely free. But I think a lot of people are using it completely wrong. Okay. You see, every few months, a new AI tool comes out, and people immediately start asking one question: what can it replace? Okay. Can it replace a writer? Can it replace an editor? Can it save hours of research? Can it make your content faster? Can it make any sort of system faster? Now, that is usually where the conversation starts because speed is the easiest benefit to understand. Now, if something is used to take, it took you 3 hours to do something, but now it only takes you 30 minutes, the value obviously increases. But I think that is way but I think that the way of looking at AI misses something even more interesting. You see, the biggest opportunity is not replacing old tasks. Sometimes it's finding a completely different use for the tool than everybody originally adopted it for. You see, this is why or how I've actually started looking at Notebook LM. I've looked at different tools as well, but this is how I started looking at Notebook LM. When Notebook LM first started getting attention, most people treated exactly how you would expect and how you really should. Students would upload notes, researchers would upload PDFs, or people would add books or articles or documents or even just YouTube videos because they wanted to understand something that was difficult, that was complex, and then they wanted to learn it faster. They want it simplified. This is still how and what most people still use it for today. You'll give it a pile of information and it helps you just make sense of it. It can summarize any type of material. It'll pull out important ideas. It'll explain complicated concepts in just very simple language. It will organize your notes. And then it will also turn source material into even audios or video explainers. That alone already makes this tool extremely useful in just learning any type of material or concept that you want to learn. But in my personal experience and the way that I've used it, the more I started noticing something else. Okay. You see, the exact thing that makes Notebook LM useful for studying also makes it extremely, extremely useful for building theme pages. If you don't know me already, my name is Levi. I've created thousands of different theme pages across TikTok and Instagram and YouTube. Now I have a successful network of TikTok theme pages, Instagram theme pages, and YouTube. And yes, I said thousands. Doesn't mean that all of them were successful. I've trialed and errored on so many different ones, but I do have a select few successful pages on TikTok, a select few on Instagram, and a select few on YouTube that not only generate me tons of views, but they also generate me income as well. They are my distribution machines. And Notebook LM has made the game even easier. Now, I don't see a whole lot of people talking about this. So we're going to talk about it exactly in this video for you. Okay. The connection becomes obvious once you understand what theme pages really are. Okay. A good theme page, basically, at the sum of it, is a small media company built around one topic instead of one personality. The page could be about business, wealth, psychology, artificial intelligence, fitness, self-improvement, history, philosophy, relationships, or really almost anything else where people already have an interest in and want more information. Okay. The niche matters because it gives the page direction. It tells you who you are or who you're speaking to and what kind of information belongs on the page and what kind of audience you are trying to attract. But I think people put too much emphasis on choosing the niche and not enough emphasis on choosing the idea. You see, a niche can tell you where to play, but the idea determines whether anybody actually stops to watch. You see, you can have the perfect business niche, or you can still make boring content. You can build around AI or wealth or psychology or self improvement and still struggle to grow if your ideas themselves are weak. The better question is not what niche should I build? It is what do people actually want to watch inside this niche? So you could choose your overall niche and then ask yourself, what do people actually want to watch? That is the question that is more useful than anything else. Okay. The idea is where the real advantage lives. Now, before you create anything, I think you should ask yourself a few questions. Okay. Write these down, take a screenshot, do whatever you got to do, come back to it. Okay. Number one, what are people actively trying to understand? Number two, what do people keep struggling to learn? Number three, what do people wish someone would explain in a very simple way? Number four, what are people confused about even after watching multiple videos on that topic? Number five, what are people curious about but too overwhelmed to research themselves? If you can ask yourself and answer those five questions, you'll be able to actually have successful content and successful theme pages. Okay. Those questions are where best content ideas usually come from. Those are ones where you can actually put out a post and people will actually watch it. That's a way that you can actually find ideas and create posts that people want to click on. Okay. The scroll stopping ideas. You got to be able to answer these questions because people do not watch educational content just because the topic is technically irrelevant to them. Okay, they watch it because there's a gap between what they know and what they want to know. And that gap is your opportunity. So, if you're running a business page, there's people that may want to understand how like offers work. You can talk about why they're not getting customers or why their content is getting no views or why they are getting views, even why they're getting views but not even making sales, or why some businesses are just growing faster than others. If you're a psychology page, there's going to be people that want to understand why they overthink or why they procrastinate or why certain habits are harder to break or even just why relationships feel so freaking confusing. Okay. Or if you're just running pages around AI, there's going to be people that want to know which tools actually matter, which ones to use, how to use them without wasting hours of going back and forth with prompting, what workflows save time, or how AI can actually help them make money or work faster. You see, the niche gives you the broad subject, but the idea gives the viewer a reason to care. This is where NotebookLM becomes much, much more useful when you truly understand how to use it. NotebookLM is really good at helping you find and explain those ideas because it can work through long sources that most people do not have the time or patience to fully consume. This could be a 3-hour long YouTube video. This could be a massive article. This could be 10 different books on around a certain subject. Okay. Imagine uploading 2-hour interviews, a long research paper, and several different chapters from a book, like we just talked about. Most people would ask NotebookLM for just a summary. That is useful, but there's better ways to go about it. You can ask questions like, what are the strongest ideas in this source that solve something people are already trying to understand? Now you're using the tool much differently and you're going to get a much better and a different outcome. You're not just asking what the source says. Okay. If you wanted to do that, just go to ChatGPT and plug that in and ask for the summary. Okay. You are asking what inside this source is worth turning it into media. You're asking the right questions. You're not wasting time creating content that nobody's going to watch or listen to or click on. You're actually pulling the ideas that are worth creating into content. This is much more valuable questions for your theme page. You see, a long interview may contain one section explaining why people stay broke and another explaining why most creators fail to sell, or even just breaking down how to learn faster. They even have a portion maybe that where it's explaining why people are overcomplicating just simple problems. Those are completely different pieces of content, but the source is just where the ideas live. Your job is to identify which one is what people actually want to watch. What do they want? See, most people use NotebookLM at the beginning of the process and they just stop there. Imagine somebody uploads a 2-hour long Alex Ramosi video, an interview of his, into NotebookLM. The normal user, the ordinary user, would just ask for the main ideas. Or maybe they'll just want the notes, the summarize of the 2-hour videos, okay? But they just are not sitting through the interview themselves and trying to take notes themselves. NotebookLM can help you with that extremely well. If that's what you want to do it, great. That's it. But look at what you could actually have after the summary is finished. You'll have a collection of ideas that are already been pulled out of the long source, out of the 2-hour video. It's organized and it's explained in a way that's easier to understand. That is exactly what the content creator normally spends hours doing manually. When as a clipper or somebody who just is trying to create theme pages, usually have to sit there between the 2 hour video and try to find the viral moments, the ideas, and try to pull them out yourself. And so the way that I use it is I don't just stop by just learning from the source. This is the beginning of the process. I'll take that same 2 hour interview and I will look at it, and from NotebookLM, it'll give me 5, 10, or even 20 different content ideas from this one source. Okay. The important part is not just publishing all 20. Okay. This is where you have to use your mind, your brain. Okay. The important part is asking which 2 or 3 would make somebody stop scrolling. It will pull the ideas, but you have to choose which ideas are actually the ones that people want. Which idea solves a problem people already know they have. Which idea explains something people struggle with to understand. Which idea gives people a reason to think, I need to know this. Okay. That is where the best theme page content comes from. Any piece of content comes from. Theme pages already work this way, but most operators are doing it manually. Okay. You don't have to do it manually anymore. A theme page has one major advantage over personal brands. You do not need to be telling your story every day, giving out your personal life information anymore. Okay. You don't have to wake up and ask yourself what happened in your life that is worth posting. Your content can come from other ideas. Books can be your content. Podcasts can be your content. Research papers can be your content. Interviews, old speeches, YouTube videos, those can be your content. The internet is already full of valuable information that you can use. The real skill is finding the right information, understanding what truly matters, simplifying it, repackaging it for other audiences. That is where NotebookLM happens to be very good at helping with that middle part. That is why I think it fits for theme pages extremely well. You see, NotebookLM was built to help people understand sources, and theme pages is built by taking sources and helping other people understand them. So those two things perfectly fit together. Now, the mistake is using it like a summarizer instead of a media tool. This is where I think a lot of people are getting it wrong. Okay. If you upload a podcast, you tell NotebookLM to summarize everything, you can absolutely get a useful output, but useful information does not automatically make strong content. You see, a theme page still needs packaging. It still needs an angle. It needs a reason to be, clicked on, or reasons to still watch. And most importantly, it needs one idea the viewer is going to remember. So instead of asking, what did this podcast actually talk about? I would ask, what is most interesting? What is the most interesting problem inside this podcast that my audience already cares about? See, that question produces much better content. Instead of making a video called Alex Ramosi Explains Content Marketing, you might make one called Why Millions of Views Still Don't Make Money. Why millions of views still don't make you money. Now, that is actually where the tension is. That is what somebody is actually dealing with. The viewer probably assumes more views should lead to more money, right? The video can challenge that assumption and explain why attention only becomes valuable when the right kind of person is paying attention and that there is something useful to them to do next. You see, that is much more interesting to summarize than summarizing everything the source already covers. And it's much more easier to actually remember. Now, this is important, okay? One strong source can keep a theme page busy for days. You don't have to just, get one piece of content from one source and just dump it out. One strong source can keep your theme page busy for days. You can pull multiple pieces of content from it. This is where the strategy starts to become much more useful in practice. See, normally a creator might spend several hours researching just for one post. But imagine building a source library inside NotebookLM where every source has multiple useful ideas inside of it. And then you upload a long business interview, and then NotebookLM can help understand the entire conversations. And instead of just publishing one summary, you get to pull out several separate ideas, separate pieces of content that you get repackage each one differently for all the different platforms that you have. One idea becomes a YouTube video. Another becomes maybe a short explainer, a short. Another becomes a a Twitter X post. Another becomes just an Instagram carousel post or a TikTok video or even just a Substack article or even a newsletter or just something that you can text out to your Telegram group. One source might give you several days of pieces of content, but then you add another source and you can just repeat that same process. And over time, you are no longer consistently searching the internet for just random things to post. You are building a library of high quality source material that your content system can then pull from. You see, that changes the hardest question in content creation. You stop asking, what am I going to post today? You wake up and you ask that same question. What am I going to post? What am I going to post? You ask this question instead. Which idea from my source library is most useful, interesting, or clickable today? That is a much easier problem to solve consistently every single day waking up. That's waking up without a headache. Okay? The video feature makes this even more powerful. This is inside NotebookLM. This is where NotebookLM moved from being useful to being genuinely interesting to me. Okay, it takes those sources and it can help turn them into visual explainers. For theme pages, the whiteboard style is especially useful because a lot of the good information is just harder to understand than it needs to be. So basically, not only is it summarizing and let's say simplifying, or if you want, making it dumber for your audience to be able to understand, it attaches very, very simple whiteboard style content to go along with this information. So it's just so very easily to understand and digest. Okay. Business people use complicated language. Researchers use complicated language. AI people, of course, use complicated language. It's like a whole different language, especially when it comes to finances. But a good theme page should do the opposite. Okay. It should take complicated ideas, the ones that seem like different language to other people, and just make it so simple that anybody can understand it in just a few minutes. A whiteboard explainer is naturally good at that because it just reduces an idea down to the parts that actually matter. A simple diagram can explain a business model. A comparison can show why an approach works better than the other. A timeline can make the process obvious. And then just a few visual elements can replace several paragraphs of just trying to explain a complicated concept. Okay. That matters because the goal of education content is not just to prove how smart you are. The goal is to make the viewer, your audience, feel like they finally understand something that has been so complicated for them that they've been struggling with for who knows how long. Okay? That is the goal. That is the kind of content people save, share, and come back to, and the type of content that goes viral. It's the content that people want. Okay? The strongest theme pages are really built on an idea selection. People often think the advantage is posting more, that volume is the key. That is one piece of the puzzle. Sometimes it is, okay? But if the idea is weak at the core, posting more just means distributing weak ideas faster. Your volume is just garbage. That's what all you're putting out there, okay? The better advantage is learning how to consistently identify what people actually care about. That means paying attention to repeated questions, common frustrations, confusing topics, arguments people are already having, skills that people are trying to learn, the problems that still feel difficult, even though there are already a lot of information online, especially with all this AI. Information is absolutely accessible to so many people. But what is difficult for people to still understand, even though they can access it? Okay. This is why I keep coming back to the same three questions. Write these down, screenshot it, come back to it. Number one, what do people want to watch? Number two, what do people struggle with learning? Number three, what are people actively trying to learn right now? If you can answer those well, the content gets much easier. See, the niche tells you what world you are operating in. Those questions, the three questions, tell you which ideas inside that world actually deserve attention, which ones you should be creating content about. NotebookLM makes production much easier, but you still have to have judgment, okay? You have to decide what ideas are worth creating. NotebookLM cannot decide what people care about for you. You still need to decide, what niche you want to be in. You still need to understand your audience and what their pain points are, what they're struggling with. You still need to recognize the strongest ideas inside the source itself. That is still something you have to do. You still need to be able to package that idea with good titles, thumbnails, captions. You still need to understand why somebody would click on a video or why people would still want to watch. This judgment that you have to do is still crucial. That is what NotebookLM still lacks in. That's your part. See, the tools can make it easier, but it does not remove the judgment part. That's the difference. So many people can create videos with NotebookLM, but the ones that actually go viral, that people want to watch, that people are going to click on, the difference with the people that are creating these type of videos is literally because they've used their judgment to know which ideas to really create content for the people that actually want to watch and actually want to click on. Okay, that's why two people can upload the exact same interview and can get completely different results. One person will just ask for the summary, while the other person finds one argument inside the interview that answers a question thousands of people are already asking. It could be the same source, same AI tool, but you can get completely different pieces of content depending on what you are trying to actually do. See, the advantage is still the operator. It's you. This is where the business side of theme pages starts to matter. You see, a theme page should not only be built around what can go viral. Okay, that's one part of it. It should be built around an audience that can eventually become valuable. If you build a business page or business education, a software or guides or templates or communities, or even just a digital product may eventually make sense for that type of audience. If you build an AI page, tools, workflows, education, or softwares maybe just become relevant for that page. If you build a fitness page, there are programs or different coaching or products or services that just will naturally fit for those page. You see, the content brings in the people and the niche will tell you what they will care about, but the offer, that's what gives the attention somewhere to go. You see, what I would use it for is I would focus on a theme page where the content keeps attracting the same general type of person over and over and over again. You see, and then over time, you're not just collecting random views. The theme page is a distribution machine. That is what you're building around a specific audience. That's what the niche is for. You're choosing a niche. You're choosing a specific people group that have a specific problem that they all have, thousands of people have, and you're creating the content that is attracting those people, and then you're taking that attention that you have attracted and putting it towards an actual offer. Okay, that's the asset. It's the distribution machine that you create so that you could put whatever offer out there that is going to sell. You're going to put out content that people want, and you're going to put out an offer that people want. This is why NotebookLM is being used completely wrong. This is what I've been seeing. Okay, now saying that people are using it wrong may be a little unfair, but using NotebookLM just to study is obviously useful. But if you're just using it for that, then you're using it wrong. But see, I think that there are obviously better ways to use NotebookLM and the applications that it has. Interesting application is what happens when you stop asking NotebookLM to just consume information and you start asking it to help you package information people already want to understand. Okay. Yes, you can use it for yourself. You can use it to summarize books and help understand materials or complicated things for yourself. But there are much better ways to use it for. Okay. When you use it to be able to help other people, it changes the role of the tool completely. Now it becomes part of the research assistant. It becomes part of your organizer. It's part of just your explainer and just your entire production system. When you put it inside of a faceless theme page, one person can start doing work that used to require 7 different people. Okay. You can have different editors, researchers, analyzers. Now you all have it in one place. You can research better. You can find ideas faster. You can simplify complicated material. You can turn those ideas into actual videos. And you can take those same ideas and distribute them across multiple different platforms. Okay. And you can do all that without making your face or your personality the center of your brand. Okay. This is completely faceless. You can use your voice if you want to, but you don't have to. Okay, this is an opportunity that I think a majority of people are still missing out. Most people are opening NotebookLM because they want to understand something better. I think theme page operators should start opening it with a different question. What does my audience want to understand next? Now, if you can answer that consistently, Notebook LM becomes much more than just your regular studying tool. It becomes part of the machine that helps you build a media asset. And if you want to learn how to build a faceless page behind that kind of content, this is what I created the Simple Side Hustle system for. All right. It breaks down how you choose your niche, how to set up pages, how to create content, how to grow an audience, and then how to turn that attention into a digital asset without needing to become the face of your brand. I will have the link down in the description. If you want to learn the Simple Side Hustle system, go check it out. And like always, like, subscribe, share this with a friend who actually can use this. And again, this information was given to you so you take action. So take action with it today. Don't wait.